Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to this Plazas and Promenades DLC special with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very, very welcome. So normally with the DLCs we get a whole bunch of new maps, and normally they are part of the free content, so it's almost a little bit forgivable when they aren't very good. This time round with the Plazas and Promenades DLC we got some free roads which are amazing. But the maps were part of the paid content, so I'm hoping that today's maps are going to be a little bit better, a little bit cut above the standard DLC maps. Now we're going to have a look at all 5 DLC maps today. I'm going to review them in order from what I consider to be the weakest, going up to what I consider to be the best, but you can always let me know in the comments whether you disagree with my ordering. That's what they're there for. There's also one other little thing you can do for me, it's that like button. That's right, clicking the like button really does support the channel, gets me seen by more people and helps me grow a little bit more every single day. Thank you for your support. Today's first map is Gondola Islands by, of course, Colossal Order. If you want any of these maps, the access point is by buying the Plazas and Promenades DLC. There's your start square. I mean, it's not very inspiring, but I am starting with what I consider to be the least inspiring of the 5 maps. Terrain heights across the whole are pretty flat. There's a little bit of bumping here and there, but nothing that is unplayable in any way, shape or form. And the resources, they're fine. All centered on the 25 tiles, which is the very least you'd expect from a vanilla map. And if you have Sunset Harbour and you want to do some fishing, your fishing map will look like this. And so down to ground level. So as our first map, it is mostly just an island map. There's not too much to expect. It's pretty flat. We've got a big chunk of island in the middle with some broken off islands around the outside, and then a sprinkling of islands around the outside of those as well. We've got a fairly long and unsightly road and rail connection over here that are just long and unsightly, but there aren't any shipping routes cutting through them, so that, I guess, is something we could look for the positives and say that is good work. Then this bridge here, this bridge is almost what I would call perfection, because we are coming down to ground just on the edge here. You can see we've got a slightly sharper, steeper drop going down here than over the other side, so it's not quite exactly symmetrical. Does it matter? Honestly, not really a huge amount. The road then continues down into our start area, which is in the middle of this relatively flat. I mean, it's relatively, if I throw the lines of terrain on for you here, we can see that there's a little bit of variation going on. Some slightly higher areas, some slightly lower areas. A little bit of a crevice going on down here, which is like this area will become somewhere you probably run a road down or something like that in that area. You just won't be building your grid city in that area, and then yes, it becomes pretty, I'm going to say, uninspiring come that point. It's just a flat splodge. Splodge, I think, is actually a very good word for this. A flat splodge of a land, big island with a couple of broken off bits over here. And then on the outside, just edging into the 25 tiles, you've got some smaller islands as well. So if you've got the DLC that gives you ferries, this might be a very good ferry map. Always looking for the positives, even though, like I say, I find this the least inspiring of all of the maps. So at least we've tried doing something a little bit different terrain wise over here. I kind of like these little islands here, how they've got a little bit of variety in them. You're probably not going to be doing an awful lot of building on these islands, but again, they're good shapes. They're good shapes and just a little bit different from just a big old splodge of grid city in the middle there. We go across to the other side. Here's your balance, and there's some nice balance to the map in that we've got just a fairly nice shape. Again, not the most exciting, but a fairly nice shape. And we've also got some good standards regarding the shapes of the beaches. Come down here, have a look at the Essential Lighthouse. Isn't she lovely? Yes, that looks okay. And there's another little lighthouse over here as well. We have a look over here. Again, it looks a bit beach shaped, and that is probably the very least we should be expecting. If we come right to the top of the map, we have, and this is outside of the 25 tiles, so playing vanilla play, this is just distance. This is something you look at. You might see this ridge in the fog. I have the fog switched off. I am obviously using mods for the benefit of recording the show, while these maps are intended to be played vanilla. In terms of the beach is, it's fine. It's fine. It just runs in all the way across there. And if you're wondering about shipping routes, because I'm pretty sure you will be worrying and wondering about shipping routes, we do have a shipping route that comes in. It comes from the side, it loops into the bay and back out. Does mean that if you were thinking about having harbours, like maybe up in this area here, that's not going to happen. There's no shipping routes through and up the map that way. Water flow in the start square, it's not really anything too much to worry about because we actually have it broken up. So whilst there's not an awful lot of water motion, you can draw from here and maybe pump into there, or the other way around if you really want to be pumping your sewage out. That way you can do it without really any risk to your citizens, as long as you're not completely stupid and stick the two together. Come back, there's a bit of a mainland over here, and I approve. I've made a map not completely dissimilar to this one, and where I had a chunk of mainland along here, and we've done something with everybody's favourite factories, little industrial area down here. And again, I mean, it's not awe-inspiring. It wouldn't have taken hours and hours to make this one. Got a couple of trees encroaching onto the rail there, but again, that's because of anarchy settings, which you won't be using if you're playing vanilla. And that will just head off towards the edge of the map over there. Anyway, in terms of my overall instinct with this map is it's playable. It's fine. We've got plenty of options for having shipping and more ferries than shipping. There is a shipping option, but am I inspired to want to play it? No. Having said that, if you are really interested in doing a ferries build and you only really have access to vanilla maps, this one might be a very nice one to play with. All told, I'd give this a low 3 stars from me. So that's our first map, the weakest of the 5 out of the way. Today's second map, well, it's alright, it's halfway to being a decent map. This is Coastal Gem, and in terms of gem, I would say the coastal area's not far from being that. I would say it's a pretty decent result. There's your start square. Start square's got a very nice intersection just outside of it and doesn't encroach too much into your buildable area. The terrain heights is pretty flat on the whole across the map, with just a few bumpy bits here and there. Plenty of buildable space. Resources are a little bit light. Come on, it costs you nothing to put down resources, Colossal Order. Why are you so light there? And then if you've got Sunset Harbour and you want to do some fishing, your fishing map will look like this. Let's head on down to ground level, shall we? Well, the highway is clean. It's clear of trees, which is an important thing, because trees are part of the vanilla tree count, and if you are looking to play this and plant a whole bunch of trees yourself, you don't want to have loads of trees tucked underneath the highways. And to be fair to Colossal Order, in the vanilla base game maps there are very few trees that you'll find tucked underneath the highways and underneath the railways. I mean, frankly, there's no purpose to them being there. You'll only know they're there if you'll actually demolish the highway or the railway, and then the trees will suddenly appear. So there is that. This particular highway, it's very straight, it's a little bit boring, and that is all I can say about it, really. It doesn't really add anything dynamic to the map, but then why would it? Why would it take a different route? Anyway, heading up here to our start square intersection, this is an absolute beauty. Look at this. This is amazing work. Very nicely worked. If you noticed, we had a slight elevation as we were heading up towards the intersection. It's a little bit on the steepish side, but I'm sure all these trucks are really going to benefit from, once we're up here, we can just cross across the intersection without having to worry about it. I mean, it's a little bit of fantastical the way that this has been done, but it's been done beautifully. Now, you may notice down here there are a few trees underneath one or two of the slip roads. Whoever created this map missed one or two bits and pieces as they were putting in the slip roads, but everything else has been cleared. It's not a problem, it's just something that we do like to talk about on the channel. Start Square, gotta say, very enticing. Do like this. We've got a very interesting coastline. Look at the coastline in a moment. But yes, a very interesting coastline. Everything from here looks very nice indeed from this location. The highway does continue off towards the edge of the map over that way. We have another route that comes in from the top of the map and loops round in a fairly disinteresting curve. I mean, that's all I have to say there. It's kind of nice it goes close to the lakes. There is that to be said. It's close to the lakes. We do have rail. The rail is a little bit weird. The rail kind of like stops here, comes in from the edge of the map and just doesn't really do anything. In terms of how close are we to Start Square, actually not too far away. Let's have a little look at maybe tile number 3. So one there, by that one, then by this one, and then you're into the rail. So it's not too bad, really. Right, let's have a little look around at the rest of the map. Well, first of all, the coastlines, it's called Coastal Gem, and I think these are rugged and interesting. The sand texture on this particular theme is a good one. So you're actually getting some very nice looking coastlines. That is a definite winner for me there. And again, we have this peninsula coming down here with this little island just off to the side of it. This is all interesting as well. I just think it's just a interesting and plausible shape. I think having got this sand coming down this peninsula here, I think this island here with 0 sand on it just seems a bit strange. Not saying that we should have had more of this this rock work. We have a Park Life, a rock dropped in on there just for interest's sake, I guess. But I do feel that this particular island, I like the shape, I like the location. Not quite sure how it would build into the geology of how it came to be, but it just doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the map there. And we've got some more islands over this way as well. If we come over here, we'll have a little look. This one again, interesting shape. I'm all good with that. Got a little rip in the island here, which it's like being filled in with sand. You'll see another one of those in a moment. And then we've got possibly the bit that's been ripped out of the island here. Just has been deposited from here. So yeah, no, it's not an exact jigsaw match, but I thought it was a fun thing to notice that one there. We've got a few little jagged islands coming off of the coastline over here, and then this little coastal area is kind of a little bit wetlandy, and again it's just a little bit different. I'm good with this. I think the entire coastal run is a really interesting shape. So Coastal Gem, I would say, is a very good name for the map. Right, now let's get away from the really good bit and start moving to the middly bit. Okay, the not so bad bits. I like these lakes. These lakes do add a little bit of interest, a little bit of diversity, and something to build around, and some interesting lakefront homes, that sort of thing. I think this looks really cool. And then right off the edge of the map, we got some hills. I mean, they're not really doing much for the map, but I kind of like them there. We've also got some hills over in the other corner. Let's come over to the other corner. When I say some hills, we've got that little corner there. And everything in between, though, north of the highway where you've got the rail running through here. Yeah, I can see we've got some resources splidged and splodged in there in places, which I guess is something, but it just lacks. I mean, we've got, again, a couple of lakes as well, but most of this area here, and what I just want to fall asleep. This does not encourage me to want to build here. I would be building entirely this side of the highway if I'm going to be building on this map, which is a little bit of a waste because there's plenty of other parts of the map to actually get in and have some fun on. But yes, so like I said at the start, it's halfway to being quite an interesting map. Let's have a quick look at a couple of the interesting locations. So here we've got not much going on and a randomly placed, it does seem very randomly placed, castle. It's castle, as we say on the channel, for the BonBonBingo players there. Link is in the description. We have a castle. I mean, I don't know what more to tell you about that one. The next one is over here. Now, everybody's favourite factory there, also for the BonBonBingo players. You're probably going to check off all of the memes today. Again, I see these are placed right by the resources, so maybe all we're saying here is, look, we've got an industrial area. Here's a couple of factories. But again, it just seems a little bit odd, really. Where the road's leading down, or the rail leading down to the factories, they just seem a little bit all on their own. They promised we'd find another sand pit, which we've got a sand pit right here. And I think it works. I think it works. And then if we come over here, we've got some coastal defences in a somewhat weird location. So if we are going to be... These are set up to defend an attack from this direction. So we land here. Anywhere on this peninsula, we've got defences. Well, I probably would be landing somewhere else then. You know, is this the only place we can land? Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was moderately interesting. And then anybody who died during that attack, well, you could be buried in this, again, somewhat randomly placed cemetery. Again, I don't know. I don't fully understand or comprehend. So there's that. Let's have a little look at the shipping routes and the water flow in the start square because of all of the reasons. The shipping routes, we have one shipping route. It just does a little slide in and then a little slide out. Doesn't do anything special, doesn't need to. That's perfectly fine. The water flow in the start square, though, is slightly more of an issue. If we come over here and have a little look down at the start square, the water is very shallow. So if you're going to be drawing water from here, it probably will struggle a little bit. Plus, with no water motion there, if you're going to pump sewage in here, it's going to sit around for the longest time. So just a couple of things to consider if you want to start playing the map. You know how you're going to want to play this one. If you are somebody who does like to pump water in and draw water out, it's not going to be a pretty map, which is a shame because we do have a very pretty coast. So I think that's about all I've got to say for Coastal Gem. In terms of score for me, I was veering towards saying this could be a 4-star map, but there's so much wasted area on the map. It's 3 stars, and if anything, because there's no real desire to want to go the other side of that highway, I'm going to go a medium low 3 stars. It's playable, but yeah, it's a waste. It's a missed opportunity. And on with our third map, and we're taking a big step up. This map was definitely made by a different map maker in the Colossal Order offices. This one's Oracle Lake, and it's the first of the 3 maps that I feel that are probably worthy of having a little bit of a price tag added to them. There's your start square. Start square is fine, a little bit uninspired with the highway, mind you. The terrain heights across the map, it's a lot more rugged with plenty of buildable space. Resources are again a little bit light for a vanilla base game style map, but definitely still workable. And if you've got Sunset Harbour and you want to do some fishing, we have all of the little fishies. And I've got to say, that is a very nice thing to see for a change. So we started today's show with a European theme map. We followed that up with a tropical map. We are now into Boreal, and just look at those mountains. For a vanilla map, this is very classy indeed. In terms of the overall shape, very nice. I've got one or two geographical grumbles. Nothing too much. One which we'll finish the flyover on. But all told, I think we have a little bit of a winner here. This I don't mind at all. Now we're going to start off with saying that the standards of road laying are pretty high. We'll come back and have a look at this bridge a little bit later on. But at first glance, the bridge, if we have a look here, looks alright, doesn't it? It looks alright. Like I say, we'll have a little glance at it a little bit later on. And then the highway heads down to this vanilla wishbone and the start square, which again, in terms of start squares, I'm good with that start square. The thing is, we then lead up to another vanilla wishbone and just a road that just bends off like this around the mountain. My big grumble with this map, I love the shape of it. I think the shape of it is fine. We've got some very interesting mountains, some interesting waterways. There's just a severe lack of imagination regarding the highways. Now, I really would love them to have gone to someone like Mr. Miyagi and said, hey, could you do us a decent, believable, but not overly complicated highway layout? And I'm sure, absolutely sure Mr. Miyagi would have done that on this. This map has a lot going for it. And the reason why it's only third on my list of 5 is for the lack of the imagination of the networking. So we have the highways. We do have a little bit of rail, which follows in from the highway over here. As I don't mind it too much, it's a straight line with rail heading off to the edge there, because once again, most of that is out of the 25. But it just doesn't really, really drag me and say, you've got to build on me because I'm so exciting and amazing and going to make a really pretty city for you. The landscape does, but the pre-built infrastructure really doesn't. Then, if we follow this round, we have a bit of rail. We have a little spur goes off here with the old broken rail line. That's all good. I'm happy with a broken rail line. It's fine. A little bit of fun detailing. Heading up to everybody's favourite factory up here in amongst the mountains. And again, this tells more of a story for me. It's the first time the factory's been used in a way that I look at it and go, I think I can believe in this. I think I can. I mean, it's underdone, but rather than underdone than not done at all. And then the rail heads up the river valley here, again, following a very sensible route. And again, for that, I am very pleased to see it. Okay, so now, the overall shape of the map, we have the mountains, which are pretty nice. All of the shapes of the mountains are pretty nice. And in terms of backdrop, though, we've even got over here, we've even got a little bit of a sandy beach area going on here. A little bit of a castle. Ooh, it's a castle. Just a little bit of a castle right there. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, do you know what? I like this. You're not going to be doing any building up here, but as a nice view across the bay from your city, I think that's a definite thing. The river, we've got the river heading in. I'm not quite sure where Oracle Lake actually is. Is this the lake? Because I would have said this is possibly more of a bay. There's a lake up there. That's definitely a lake. This, I don't know. Maybe that's the Oracle Lake. I suspect Oracle Lake is this big one here. And again, in terms of the shape, I'm really very good with it. Let's have a little look at the shipping and the water flow before I show you the interesting areas on the map. So we'll start off with the shipping. And we have a shipping route, which is fine. It loops in. And it loops all the way up to this point. We can't get a harbour where it might be nice to possibly have had a harbour up here. But I do understand that this is a fairly narrow passage. So that might not have been the most preferable. But what we do have with this loop is every ship is going to come in, even if it's just sailing all the way through. It's going to do a loop around and a loop back, even if it's got no intention of coming into the harbour. And for me, that is, considering your harbour location, at the furthest you're going to get it up here is here. More realistically, you're going to have a harbour area around here. You're just going to have ships coming and clunking around right on top of you that are just not stopping. Not the prettiest for me, that one. Then we have water flow in the start square. Well, there's two separate spots. We have one on the river, we have one on the lake, meaning that you could probably pump water from the lake and draw water from the lake and pump water into the river. There's no moving motion there, so once again you're going to have sewage sitting around if you choose to do that. We do have water flowing out of here though, so what you may want to do is look to buy some tiles down this way and put your sewage outflow down here in a couple of tiles time. Right, I have some points of interest on the map though. Let's have a little look at those, shall we? Start off with this one. I did say we'd come and have another look at the bridge again. I feel that this could be better centered. At the very least, have the entire bridge sort of just spanning, or you could just extend the spans a little bit so that it's stretched out over. But having these pillars in the water, yeah, it's a minor fail there. I can get over it. I could rebuild it myself and probably would. Let's have a look at the next point. The tree painting. I like these shapes of the trees on this map. Look at the little clusters. It feels absolutely quite natural. And also we've got another little castle thing going on down here as well. Again, it's just hinting of a castle, and I feel that that works quite nicely in that location. So credit for that too. Shapes of the mountains, I've mentioned it a couple of times. My favourite area is here in terms of mountains. This is, and again, the tree painting on here works very nicely indeed. Now, this is a very precious mountain. For some reason, it needed to be defended, the whole mountain. And we've got a defensive trench along here, which we've got a floating tree there. I think that's a minor fail there. A minor fail. But yes, we've got some trenches, and it was to stop an attack coming from this direction. So something was going on with that mountain. What? One will never find out, I'm sure. And next location, the river. The river is very nice. I like the shape of the river. We've got a couple of areas of what I'm going to call rapids, and if you can't quite make it out here, but there's a bit of a drop down here. You can see the bit of a speed and picking up here, and there's another little drop heading down this way here where it's a little bit steep, and because rivers can do that. Having said that, how this freighter got up onto the beach over here, I'm not entirely sure, because I say we are a little bit upstream from a little bit of fast water here, so I don't buy into that ship being there. It's fine, it's a bulldozer away, isn't it? It's fine. I've done that one. And then we have this one. We have this big old lake, which we've discussed. And we have a dry river. Now, this dry river, I quite like this. I quite like this. You can imagine in the rainy seasons, the water pouring off the mountains, heading down, and then filling into this lake. I like it. It makes sense. I even like the little imaginary bridge there, because of course we'll never have the river coming down here, but the bridge that imagines that we will have water pouring through here. It, however, is not the only dry river on the map. The second one, which is more of a primary location down here, this one, you're imagining the same sort of deal going on. The river, the rain's filling the lake, and then you always see that it's still an active river to a degree by the rocks still in it, and then that would pour down and through this way. Except for it wouldn't. It just wouldn't. Let me show you for why. I'm going to pull the line. There we go. The terrain on. Have a little look at these lines here. So at the highest point of the river bed is at this location here. Let me grab the terrain tool and show you. So here, oh, wrong button. That's the one I was wanting there. That is 114.84 meters. So 114.84. If we come over to here, this is 113.27. So if this lake were to fill, first of all, the the pier would be massively underwater, but before that river could work as an outlet, our entire start square would be flooded with water pouring over from the lake. Silly little talking points. I know in real terms that would never happen. It's just an aesthetic little thing, but it's something that I just thought we would mention. Anyways, other than that, my only real grumble with this one is the highway layout. It does absolutely nothing for me, but other than that, I really like the map, and for me, this is a winner. Highway layout is going to bring the score down for me a little bit, but I'm thinking I can give this one a medium-high 3 stars. And I can give you a short break. And down to my 2 best maps of the DLC pack. This particular one doesn't really shine that much, but it does have a playability about it. This is Cape Apple. A playability about it that's going to appeal to quite a few players, especially the newer players to the game. So this is why I popped it in at number 2. There's your start square. It's a little bit Manhattan-esque, one would say. I mean, it's not a copy, but it's Manhattan-esque. And those of you looking to rebuild a Manhattan-style build, well, this could be a pretty nice little niche map for you. Resources, again, I don't know why we're so light. Could do a lot more, please, Colossal Order. And then if you've got Sunset Harbour and we'll do some fishing, we've got a good mix of fish as well. Right, back down to ground level. So my instinct with this map, again, it feels a little bit underwhelming. The highways are of a reasonable standard. A little bit of a wibble and a little bit of a wobble in some locations, but it's certainly of a high enough standard for it not really to be a concern to anybody. And again, I feel that most of the players of this map are going to be newer to the game, looking for something that is more iconic, and this is more of an iconic style city build map. We've got a big old bridge. Everybody loves a big old bridge, and it is a big old bridge. Not too much to say about that. It's absolutely fine. There is shipping route going through there, and they have built it high enough to allow for ships to go underneath without clipping through. There's a little bit of a wibble and a wobble here as the highways come off the bridge, and they're just lining up, and the distance between them sort of like separates and comes together a little bit. So there's just a little talking point there. And the highway goes off the edge of the map over there. Meanwhile, because that's not the one that heads to the start square, we have a separate highway over here which bombs down to the start square. Well, we've got rail running parallel with it as well, so we can follow the road and the rail at the same time. We've got another one of these dry river areas where things will spill over when it rains, and okay, it's not going to rain, but it's good to have imagination and creativity, and these things add a little bit of realism to the map that would otherwise just be very plain and boring. Also, big shout out to, again, the quality of the hills, which are way better than the early DLC maps and base game maps. So again, lots of credit for the work that's been put in to improving the maps there. And again, this map, while I'm not going to say it's my favourite map of all time, because it really isn't, this one is, I would say, a viable thing to be a paid DLC map. remembering that, again, all of these maps in this DLC, none of them are, all of them? None of them. None, they're all paid content. You don't get access to these without actually buying the DLC, which is counter to what we are kind of used to. Down here to another bridge heading over into the start square. We'll come back and have a look at this bridge later. More interesting is the main buildable area over here. And again, that just does feel like a potential New York style build. We have some islands down here. So Statue of Liberty, anybody? Maybe? Possibly. And then we got I forgot what the name of the areas are. Queens and Brooklyn and so forth. Yes, it's a little wider than Matt. It's not a copy of New York, is it? I'm sort of talking about an inspirational map, a map that will inspire you to do a New York style build. And then over this side to Jersey, and we've got a reasonable, again, the earlier map where I was saying about how we just had a lot of disinteresting areas, a large area here, but it's broken up by this river, which just adds a little bit of interest to that area. Again, we've got some, just like distant hills, but they're right. Nothing in that corner. Nothing in that corner. But yeah, we've got some distant hills over there, and some interesting water shapes and lakefronts and that kind of stuff, just to make things a little bit of fun. And we need to have a little bit of fun in this day and age, don't we? Let's have a look at the shipping routes whilst we remember. And the answer is we have one shipping route. I've already told you pretty much where it goes. Heading up this way. And got a little bit of a just like follow the center, and now we have to like find our way through this bridge. This is a little bit awkward. The standards are fine, but if you were a shipping captain and you had to navigate that, you wouldn't be particularly happy. Maybe the main shipping route could have gone up the more obvious route here, but this one, I mean, I'm feeling that this, looking at this here, this is probably an island, isn't it? If you look at it, it's definitely island shaped. So that then leaves me one extra question, which is, sorry, bounce there, which is, if this is an island, we started the flyover on the highway over here. Where's this highway actually going to if this is actually an island? Just breaking away from the mainland. I'm seeing this is the mainland. This is an island here, and then this is a small island break. I don't know. I think that side highway is a little bit of a strange thing. Kind of glad it's there. I probably would have found a way of connecting down this way, and I probably would have left this disconnected and left that to the city builder to break out and branch out into. Water flow probably isn't going to matter. In fact, it won't matter because we have water on 3 sides of the peninsula here. So you can draw from one side, pump to the other, and you'll have no problems. Right, let's do some jumping about. And, oh, so there we go. There. Sorry. I know what I'm doing. Right. The bridge coming into the start square is a little bit low for this style of bridge. Were this just a regular elevated road, that would look better. Probably would want it raised just a couple of nodgins. That would do it. But this one just doesn't look... It looks like it's sunk into the river there, doesn't it? So I would say just a little bit of an improvement available on that. Then we have all of these sand dunes along here. These are quite nicely done. I mean, there's a little bit of... these areas here look a little bit glitchy, but they are out of the 25 tiles. As we get into the 25 tile area, we're going to say again, this is the vanilla temperate theme. The vanilla temperate sand texture just does not work well. Just doesn't. Colossal Order, can we have that as an update, please? Just change your alpha settings on the vanilla sand. This is poor, but the shapes of, especially with this dune here, this does look like a sand dune, and I think that this is actually quite good work. So if this was another creator, I would be sharing praise, and I'm going to share some praise on that dune. In fact, the dunes, like I say, the shape of them, it adds a little bit of interest and makes this feel like this is the sea over here. Now we've got these dry rivers that I quickly shot over. There are some talking issues here. Let's head up to the top of the river and see what height see what height the river needs to be as it exits there. And you're talking 125 meters. So they'll need to be out running at 126 meters. Now, if we come down this way and have a look here, I think that actually, this was me testing it earlier. Ignore this little square here. This isn't in the map. That was me testing. But if I click here, 124.69, 124.78. So we get to that point, 124.7. So yes, the river is going to have, the lake will have to overflow fully to come down to this to flood out. That would probably work just about. These ones, on the other hand, these ones don't. If we have a look at this, again, we're assuming this is the sea, these are rivers, so the river flow is going to come out from here and fill these this way. This is a non-worker. We come down to this point here. We'll have a little look at the height of that. It's going to be 108 meters to get over there. But if we come down to, say, are we here, maybe? 115 meters here. So that is 7 meters higher than there. This I don't see as ever working. Location there is 116 meters. And even that's 117 meters. We are actually climbing. It's a nice shape, and yes, it won't affect your play unless you're actually actively looking to open up those rivers, where you're going to have to do some real proper dredging. But yeah, it's I appreciate the effort, but it is a slight fail. What isn't a fail, I'm going to say, is this fishing pier here, which has been clipped very nicely into the ground, and we've got a little bit of foliage around the footing, which means it just doesn't look lost on its own. So some credit due there. We've got everybody's favourite factory down here. In as much as we've got some felled trees around it, that says maybe this is a former logging area. And we have added into that just a little extra vanilla pier down here as well, which makes me think this was logging and shipping. And given that we have a shipping route coming past here as well, this for me tells a little bit of a story. So again, whoever made this map, credit to you for actually trying something. I mean, it's simplistic, it's nothing too special, but thought has gone into it, and I appreciate that. And we'll finish with, isn't she lovely? The Essential Lighthouse. Have a look at the beach here as well. This is nice beach work. Good lighthouse placement, and it's clipped very nicely into the environment as well. So there's a lot to shout about with that. So Cape Apple. Again, I don't think it's the most inspiring map I've ever seen, but the whole idea of a potential Manhattan style build with plenty of buildable space around the outside, some interesting beaches if you can get down to this area with the 25 tiles. Of course, is going to be a limitation. You won't be able to access all of it, but it does look like a very interesting play. And so on to our fifth and final map, and this one is the standout map. It is so much better than all of the others. In fact, if you're the creator of Split's Tributary and you're working at a colossal order, take a silent bow in the background. Very nice work indeed. Let's have a little look at the start square. There we go, start square. Fairly ordinary, but again, realistic, and we do like a nice realistic map. The terrain heights, plenty of buildable space breaking up into the valley, and a nice looking river system to boot. we have got, again, I'd like to see more resources, but even so, I think this map is just tasty. And then if you've got Sunset Harbour and want to do some fishing, mostly salmon with some anchovies here and there. Okay then. So this map, there is a lot of good things to say about it. This is the prize map in the set. So many good things. For a start, the routing of the networks. It just doesn't feel random at all. For here, we're following this highway. This highway, first of all, is going to go around the castle that's here. Little set piece castle. Done very neatly there. And then we're going to hug the bottom of this big hill. Now this hill is acting as some kind of boundary. Going to go through a little rugged area here as well in a moment. This acts as a boundary. You can build up this way if you want to, but this is kind of like the top end of where you're likely to be building. We'll take a look at that in more detail in a moment. Most of the buildable area is off to the right though. I'm going to go down to this, your start square intersection here. Very nice to see a non-vanilla intersection, hand drawn here. Again, good standards, looks and feels right. And you may have noticed we've even got some of the new roads as well, so that's quite pleasing to see as well. So you notice it's been made specifically for this DLC, whereas some of the other maps today may have been sitting around for a while with a view to maybe uploading them with the DLC. We then bear off this way. We've got a very nice little bridge leading us into the start square. I've got no complaints with this. This is just very nice. Someone might say, oh, do you need the pillars in the middle? Look, for a vanilla DLC base game map, that's a small price. I'm okay with that. That's fine. All right, it's fine. Anyway, start square. It's just interesting and pleasing and buildable and all of those things. Now, if you were to carry along the highway, it's not going to do anything stupid. There's only one frivolous part on the map in terms of highway routing. I'll show you that in a moment. But this is just going to follow the course of the river and the bottom of the hill in a way just feels totally natural and 100% believable. Second highway, this there is where you're going to find a little bit of frivolousness. It's out of the 25 tiles, so really does it matter on the vanilla base game style map? Probably not. I have a minor grumble with it, though, just a minor one, and this is the biggest grumble I have with the map, really, I feel. In that, first of all, yeah, the frivolousness, would they have built across the lake? Could they have built around the lake? I mean, yes, they could have done. But the way that it's been done, going across the narrowest part, it's not like we're running across the length of the lake. That is believable. We've got the rocks there making it look like it's, again, a believable sort of experience. They may have uploaded, dug up. Anyway, we might have caused those rocks to happen in the building process. Having said that, we do seem to have a little bit of terrain glitching here, which looks like it's been caused in the bridge making process. So there is that. There is that. But other than what looks like a little bit of glitching going on here, and is it the sensible route? I don't actually care. I think that looks really good, and I would be very happily roll with that one on this map. Even playing with 81 tiles unlocked, I would very happily roll with that. Anyway, the highway here heads up into what would be the third tile, because your start square is here. You can access a tile here or come up the river, and then this would be your third tile if you want to access this highway. Now we do have a rail, couple of rail routes, both heading in from this angle over here. First of all, this one, which is probably the more interesting of the two routes, because we're going to run down past everybody's favourite factory and a little industrial area there as well. The siding there is a little bit short, but again, does it matter really? Of course it doesn't matter really, okay? It doesn't. And again, the bridge here, some might say it's a little bit too elevated for a rail bridge. You can actually see the variation as we're coming up. This slope here is about right. Then we go a little bit steeper than realism would allow. And so if we had carried on at that kind of rate, the bridge would be about a third lower than it is and would be far more believable. And then the drop down on the other side would be about the same. Then that cuts through the forest. Some people go, would you cut through the forest? Yeah, whatever's Trevor's. And then we have one route that goes down along the side of the river, another route that heads up into the middle here, and then a third one that cuts down towards another one of everybody's favourite factories. So you've got that, but you also have a more accessible rail route over here. More accessible but less interesting. This one here, again, is some gradients that you could talk about here in real terms. Is this steeper than real life? One would say yes. So there's a kind of like a real life fail going on here. Having said that, it's a base game style play, and so while this is sort of a realism fail, most players aren't going to really notice or worry about it. Anyway, that heads up. And in terms of accessibility, this actually sticks its nose into what would be the second tile if you're going to build out from the start square. So there's your start square there, and then this just nudges its nose into the second tile. And we've got a little bit of a forestry clearing area here as well. So there we go. That's all good. So the map as a whole, I suppose we should check for shipping routes. Let's have a little look at that next. So shipping routes, we do actually have one shipping route coming in from down here. It's up the widest part of the river. It makes a little bit of sense. It doesn't really make it's not really a proper shipping map, but you could harborize an area here, and it's not too far from the start square, so that works. That does work. And then water flow in the start square. If you want to pump and draw, we do have rivers that are doing things, and there is definitely water flow going on through there, so that would work also. So all told, I just love the design of the map. Things like how these the buildable areas are split up. So we have a buildable island here. It's, again, there's plenty of space if you want to go grid. Plenty of space to do a small grid city here, across the river here as well. We can build around the forests. We've got this little water, slightly strange water inlet going on here. But again, that will break things up. Maybe you could canal through. Maybe you could make a little mini Venice with a couple of canals coming off of here. That kind of entices me there. Then over here, we've got a strip of lands down this way, which is begging for a city. You've got an area over here, which is begging again for a city. It's all sort of, it's just an interesting break, and it's an interesting, there's so many ways of actually taking on. Like here, would you maybe have a cargo hub? Maybe you have a harbour and a cargo hub on this island. So many ways of taking on the map. Let's have a little jump around at a few of my points of interest. So first of all, we do have a few castles. We have one up here on the big old hill. Castle designs are all very basic in these sort of maps, and that's fine. That's all you really need. That's all you really need. I do appreciate a really fancy castle, but all you need is something very basic, and it's got a great view. This is like the lording over the manor. This is so nice. What a great view from up here. Right, next one, another little castle over here, which is just down by the river. We've used a few of the standing stones to make it look like we've had some sort of path down to the river in the past. And we've got a few little decorative trees, little decorative garden going on there as well. Nice little thing. Again, that's a nice castle shape that actually ties into the shape of the terrain. I like in the way that we've even used a little slope there to be a bit of a footpath down. Another little castle here. We had a look at this one earlier, but let's take it in a little bit more detail. We have this rocky outcrop going on. You can see how we've got this rock on this side. It frames it very nicely as well. And then we have a few walls just giving like the outer boundary of where the castle once stood. Again, very nice. And while there's not much here, there really isn't that much here. The thought that's been put into this, minimalistic but really, really effective. Everybody's favourite factory. Now this one, we are down here at a resource area, and so you'd be building some sort of industry here, one would imagine. It sort of ties in, I don't know if this is meant to be some sort of old road or something, going down to an old little mini castle area down here. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not my favourite thing. As over here. Now, these hills are great. The overall shape of the hills. Just have a look at the shape of these hills. We've got this ridge running around the top here, and then we've got again the tree painting on here as well. Just feels right. So we've got this wave of trees going on here. This lower area here looks like it's been done with the mottled brush, and it does look more brush mottled than it does realism mottled. I'm thinking possibly a touch of the smoothing tool over some of these lower hills. I don't mind it being a little bit bumpy, but that just looks like it's a bit too patterned for me. So it's a slight minor point on that one. Still love the shape of the hills though. Then we have, we've seen this, been over to this bridge already. I'm not going to talk about it again. Liking the shape of these lakes here as well. Again, these are helping to break up the map so that you don't end up with one big grid, one big ugly grid. You have to work around these little areas. You could do a little park there, national park, or maybe just like a hunting lodge, or have your posh neighborhoods up this way. Really, also on top of that, the placement of this rock here just breaks this area up very nicely. And I'm all for a little bit of comedy in these maps. And yes, we do have a little ship down here just running around here. How did the ship get here? Maybe no one knows, but we don't. Now there is one last thing I want to show you before I pan back and tell you how many stars I would give this map. Oh, come over here. I forgot to mention this little area here. This rip in the environment, which I'm guessing is an old river route. I don't buy into that river route at all. This sort of, I can kind of imagine the river at some point maybe following, because we've got the shape of the resources there. So I can possibly imagine at some point the river route went this way and now it's over this way. I can't ever imagine the river route here following this line. It's a very odd shape. Now we do have this this little pathway here, which sort of lines up with this. But again, I'm not really seeing how that would have ever been a thing. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't have this here. It does add a little bit of interest to the map. If only that interest is asking what the heck was this at one point. I don't know. But anyway, back to the start square. If you remember, I said about the order of purchasing the tiles in the start square and how good it is. Just look at these options for your second tile. If you come over here, if you buy this, you're getting access to the rail, which is just tucked in here, and then access to the highway on the second tile. If you come this way, you're getting a really good riverfront with options of grabbing the highway again. Or if you come this way, you're following the secondary river with the option of this area here as your second tile. So you've got all of those. But there is a little hidden treat. And the hidden treat is if we were to go north. So let's buy this tile here. And we've basically purchased a tile which is... We're not going to do anything around this. If we come down to that highway area, let's go down to the highway area. If you were to come down to the highway area, you're not going to do much. You might do something around this area. But what you're doing is giving yourself access to the hill. When you come to the hill, are you going to really want to build anything in this area? I mean, maybe something along the ridge, but it's not really something that grabs me, this ridge. But I'll tell you what does grab me. And that is, if you are building down here, this in your start square, and you're having a look round. What you can't see just over that hill there is, let me grab back into camera mode, just over that hill there we've got a hidden lake. We have a hidden lake, which is, I would say, just about accessible via the 25 tiles. So here we go, we're going to purchase this one, we're going to purchase this one, and then we can purchase this one. So what you could do is you could certainly, I think that's our, yeah, we are now within 2 tiles. So you could, come out of this mode here, sorry, I'm jumping around with the buttons. You could actually access this area here and have access to the lake up in the hills, which would give you something a little bit different. I'm thinking maybe some sort of secret military compound up here, tucked away, access to the water, maybe even a nuclear power station up here, so it's out of view of the main city. I think the map is an absolute treat, and it looks good in vanilla theme. Imagine if we were using a custom theme. This map would pop even more. I'm really impressed. I'm so impressed. I'm going to give this map a I'm going to give this a middle 4 stars. I think this is superb, and every map that comes out with the DLCs should be to this standard. There's no reason why they can't all be to this standard. But anyway, what do you think? Is this the best of the maps? Did you see anything better than this map today? Do you think that all the maps sucked? Let's get your opinions into the comments. Colossal Order have definitely knocked the ball out of the park with this particular map. Is this map and the last 2 maps, is it worth buying the DLC for? Well, I'd say no, but they are value to have. They are adding value to the DLC. I wouldn't buy them for I wouldn't buy the DLC for the maps alone. But what you're getting also with the DLC is all the new functionality as well, with Plazas and Promenades. And it's definitely, I think, going to be one of the key DLCs in the future. And I applaud them. On coming up with this. It certainly wasn't a way that I thought they were going to go. And all credit to them for that. And all credit to them for this map in particular. And for the last 2 maps, the other 2 maps were okay. The first 2 maps I could live without. Anyway, thanks for watching, for commenting, for liking, and for subscribing. Join me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for What Map, finding you the best map from the workshop for your next city build. We'll have the Map of the Year series coming up very, very soon, finding you the very best maps from 2022. I wonder who's going to win this year. And then we'll have a whole bunch of new tutorials and let's plays and live streams as well. This channel is getting exciting. I am so happy to have you along, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.